I've always been drawn to solitude, the kind that wraps around you like a thick blanket in the dead of winter. So when I inherited my grandfather's cabin deep in the Cascade Mountains, I didn't hesitate. No cell service, no neighbors for miles, just me and the endless wilderness. I thought I knew what isolation meant. I was wrong. The cabin sat at the edge of a clearing, surrounded by Douglas firs that stretched toward the sky like ancient sentinels. My grandfather had built it in the 70s, back when going off-grid meant something different. The first 3 days were perfect. I chopped wood, read by lamplight, and fell asleep to the sound of absolutely nothing. But on the fourth night, something changed. I was sitting by the fireplace when I heard it, a knock. 3 deliberate taps on the front door. I froze, book still open in my lap. Out here? Miles from anyone? I waited, convinced I'd imagined it. Then it came again. 3 knocks, measured and patient. I grabbed the flashlight and opened the door to nothing but darkness and the silver outline of trees under moonlight. The forest was completely silent. No crickets, no owls, nothing. That's when I noticed them. Footprints in the dirt, bare feet leading from the tree line to my door, then back again. But here's what made my blood run cold. They weren't human footprints. The toes were too long, the arch too high, and there were only 4 toes instead of 5. I slammed the door and locked it, my hands shaking as I pulled the curtains shut. Sleep didn't come easy that night. Every creak of the cabin settling sounded like footsteps. Every gust of wind sounded like breathing. When dawn finally broke, I rushed outside to examine the prints in daylight. They were gone. The dirt was smooth, undisturbed, as if nothing had ever been there. But I knew what I'd seen. I spent that day reinforcing the door, checking the windows, convincing myself it was just an animal, a bear maybe, or an elk, something explainable. As night fell, I built the fire higher than necessary and kept the lamp burning bright. The darkness outside the windows felt alive, watching, waiting. It happened again at exactly 2:17 a.m. I know because I'd been staring at my watch for hours. 3 knocks, but this time they came from the back door, then the side window, then the front door again. Whatever it was circling the cabin. I didn't move. I barely breathed. The knocking continued for what felt like hours, moving around the cabin in a slow, deliberate pattern. Then it stopped. The silence that followed was somehow worse. I sat there until sunrise, and when I finally worked up the courage to look outside, I saw them. Dozens of those impossible footprints circling the cabin in a perfect ring, and in the dirt near the back door, scratched in crude, jagged letters, "Soon."
I should have left after that first week, but pride kept me there. Stubbornness. The foolish belief that I could handle whatever the wilderness threw at me. I found the old radio in my grandfather's closet while searching for extra blankets. It was a vintage ham radio set, probably from the 80s. I didn't think it would work, but I was desperate for any connection to the outside world. When I plugged it in and turned the dial, static filled the cabin. I adjusted the frequency, searching for anything. A weather report, a news station, even a far-off conversation. Then, through the white noise, I heard a voice. A man's voice, low and urgent. "If anyone can hear this, please respond. I'm at the old Forest Service cabin on Ridge Trail. Something's wrong out here. Something's very wrong." My heart jumped. Ridge Trail was only about 5 miles north of me. I grabbed the microphone. "This is Mike at the Cascade cabin. I can hear you. What's your location? What's wrong?" The static crackled. Then his voice came back, clearer now. "Thank God. I've been trying to reach someone for 3 days. I'm a researcher, came out here to study wildlife patterns, but there's something in these woods, something that isn't in any of my textbooks. It comes at night. It knocks." My blood went cold. "It knocks on your door?" "Yes, 3 times. Always 3 times, and it leaves prints, footprints that don't make sense. I've been documenting everything, but I need help. Can you come get me, Please, I don't think I have much time. I looked at the map on the wall. Ridge Trail. I could hike there by morning if I left at first light. I'll come at dawn. Stay inside. Keep your doors locked. I'll be there. Thank you, he said, and I could hear the relief in his voice. Thank you so much. I'll keep the radio on. Channel 19. Just hurry. I barely slept, planning the hike, packing supplies. When dawn came, I set out with my backpack, GPS, and a hunting knife. The trail was overgrown but visible, winding through dense forest. It took me nearly 4 hours to reach the area where the Forest Service cabin should have been. But there was no cabin, just an empty clearing with a stone foundation half buried in moss and pine needles. The structure had burned down decades ago by the look of it. I stood there, confused, checking my GPS again and again. This was the right location. That's when I heard it. My own voice, tinny and distant, coming from somewhere in the trees. This is Mike at the Cascade cabin. I can hear you. What's your location? What's wrong? Then that other voice, the researcher. Thank God, I've been trying to reach someone for 3 days. Our entire conversation, playing back like a recording, but the voices weren't coming from a radio. They were coming from the forest itself, echoing between the trees, from everywhere and nowhere at once. I ran. I don't remember the hike back, just the pounding of my feet and the sound of my own panicked breathing. When I got back to the cabin, the radio was on. Static poured from the speaker. Then, slowly, my own voice emerged from the noise. If anyone can hear this, please respond. I'm at the old Cascade cabin. Something's wrong out here. Something's very wrong.
I knew I had to leave. Pack up, abandon the cabin, get back to civilization. But that night, a storm rolled in. Rain hammered the roof, wind howled through the trees, and the temperature dropped below freezing. I couldn't risk the trail in these conditions. One more night, I told myself. Just survive one more night. I boarded up the windows from the inside, pushed furniture against the doors, and kept every lamp burning. The storm raged outside, and somewhere in the chaos of wind and rain, I heard them. Voices. Dozens of voices, all calling my name. Some sounded like my grandfather, others like friends from my childhood. My mother's voice, soft and loving, asking me to open the door. But I knew better now. Whatever was out there, it was mimicking, luring, trying to trick me into opening up. I covered my ears and tried to focus on anything else. That's when I noticed the photographs on the mantel. Pictures of my grandfather standing in front of this very cabin. But in every photo, just barely visible at the edge of the frame, there was a figure, tall, impossibly thin, watching from the tree line. I grabbed the photos, hands shaking. In some, the figure was closer. In others, it stood right behind my grandfather, just out of focus. How had I never noticed this before? I flipped to the last photo, taken just days before he died. The figure was standing in the cabin doorway, fully visible now, and my grandfather was looking directly at the camera with an expression I'd never seen before. Pure, absolute terror. The knocking started again, but this time it wasn't at the doors or windows. It was coming from inside the walls, from the ceiling, from beneath the floorboards. The entire cabin seemed to pulse with those rhythmic knocks. 3 beats, pause. 3 beats, pause. I grabbed my pack and made a decision. Storm or no storm, I was leaving. I threw open the front door and ran into the rain. The forest was alive with movement, shadows darting between trees, keeping pace with me as I stumbled down the trail. I didn't look back. I couldn't look back. Lightning flashed, illuminating the path in brief, stark snapshots. And in one of those flashes, I saw it. Standing in the middle of the trail, impossibly tall, with limbs too long and joints that bent the wrong way. Its face, if you could call it that, was smooth and featureless, except for 2 dark hollows where eyes should be. It didn't move, didn't chase me, just stood there as I scrambled off the trail and into the underbrush, forcing my way through brambles and branches. I don't know how long I ran, maybe hours.
When I finally collapsed, dawn was breaking, and I could see a road through the trees. A Forest Service truck was parked nearby, and a ranger was stepping out. I must have looked like a madman, covered in mud and scratches, babbling about the cabin and the thing in the woods. The ranger calmed me down, gave me water, and radioed for help. "You're lucky to be alive," he said. "That cabin's been abandoned for 20 years, ever since the old man who built it disappeared. They found his journal, talked about something in the woods, something that knocked on his door every night. He was losing his mind toward the end, writing the same thing over and over. It's finally coming inside." I never went back for my things. The cabin can rot for all I care. But sometimes, late at night, when my apartment is quiet and the city sleeps, I hear it. 3 soft knocks on my bedroom wall, and I know with absolute certainty that it followed me home. Some things don't stay in the forest. Some things, once they find you, never let go. And as I lie here in the darkness, I wonder how long I have before it stops knocking and finally comes inside.